And we are here at Hollywood Smoke in the city of Santa Monica. I'm Steve Kim. Welcome to another edition of 10 Count. Joining me, my panel, radio legend Dave Smith and the institution from the Sentinel, Ken Miller. Gentlemen, last weekend from the MGM Grand in Las Vegas, Deontay Wilder captured the WBC heavyweight title, easily outpointing Bermane Stiverne. We have an American heavyweight. Dave, what were your thoughts on Wilder? Did he surprise you at all?
You know, I'd seen Wilder fight a few times, and I wasn't all that impressed. I thought he looped the right hand a little bit and left his chin out there. But, you know, I know Bermane Stiverne helped him a lot by being out of shape and not cutting the ring off and not fighting the way he should. But I was impressed. I like the side-to-side movement. I like the way he worked the jab. He took a couple of good shots, and he went 12 rounds without getting tired. Now, how does that translate against an elite guy like a Klitschko or somebody else? I don't know. But much, much better than I thought he was going to be. But, again, Stiverne helped him out by being out of shape and not fighting.
Well, Ken, on that issue, we've heard a lot of stuff about Stiverne post-fight. I came in real heavy, according to some of the sources, may have spent a lot of time in the sauna, came into camp at about 290. How much of this was about what Wilder was or what Stiverne wasn't?
I think it's a combination of both, a clear combination of both. Stiverne was out with Mayweather leading up to the fight, 2 weeks up to the fight, making it rain late at night. And so he obviously did not have the necessary focus that he should have had. And I think at the final press conference, the very final press conference at the MGM Grand in Las Vegas, Wilder took Stiverne straight out of character. You know, Stiverne went from this focus, I'm not going to get into a verbal pissing contest with you, to getting into a verbal pissing contest with him. And I think he fought emotional. There's a couple things you can't do in any world championship event, particularly a heavyweight championship event, and that is you cannot become emotional. I thought he was emotional. He was off his game. As for Wilder, I thought, you know, if you look at Sam Watson and Wilder after the fight, you think Sam Watson is the becoming of the new Bundini Brown, and you would think that Wilder himself actually beat a real great fighter. But I don't think either of those things are true. And I think the big fight now is what's happening as we speak, which is Don King fighting for a rematch.
Yeah, Don King, you're close with Don King, Ken. I talked to Don King earlier in the week. This was a very important fight for him. This was not 1995. He's lost a lot of his juice. You got to have assets. His number one, maybe only asset nowadays was Bermane Stiverne with the WBC title. In essence, Ken, if he can't get the rematch for Stiverne, and I understand he is burning up the phone lines of one Mauricio Suleiman, is DKP basically out of business?
Well, how many times have we heard that he's basically out of business? A lot of times. I'll tell you, I was in DKP's office during the week of the fight, and one of his accountants mentioned to me that each and every time they come into a fight, they're under the impression that it's probably going to be the last show. And for whatever reasons, there's always, there was this hope that Bermane would beat Wilder and that there would be an extended life to DKP. They don't have a website up. The operation is essentially a 4 or 5 man crew. They don't have a publicist in-house. He farms out Ed Keenan. You know, Brenner is everywhere. Steve Brenner's everybody published that has an event. So essentially, Don King Production has always been operating for the last 4 or 5 years like an independent contracting promotional company.
Dave, going back to Deontay Wilder, are we getting too excited because he's an American? Because let's face it, I think Ken said it best. This is a guy in the last 2 years, Bermane Stiverne, he's 2-0 against Chris Arreola. Not exactly Joe Frazier or Ken Norton.
I think we are getting a little bit excited. We're desperate for an American heavyweight champion. Probably me more than you, Steve. Growing up, Americans dominated the heavyweight division. It had to be an American champion all the time. Now, finally, we've got a Deontay Wilder who has a little piece of it, not really the heavyweight champion. But you brought up Arreola. Does he have a lot in common with Bermane Stiverne or what?
Yeah, well, they're both
coming into
shape.
camp. What is in the mindset of a guy? He's got a piece of the heavyweight championship. He comes to camp at what, 300 pounds, Bermane Stiverne? He's got so much money to be made out there, so much to gain. You need to work harder once you win a piece of that belt, don't you?
Yeah,
How do you get that out of shape and let it all slip away like that?
I've always said about fighters, if you have one job, as Bill Belichick would say, you have one job. If you're not punching a clock, you're not working at a factory, you're not going to the office, your job is to be in shape. And even his trainer, Don House, said, I warned him. And just go to the LA Fitness 3 times a week. I think the biggest indictment of Bermane Stiverne is 98% of his value was tied into having the WBC heavyweight title. Now it's a long line to go back in there. And when it's fractured as it is now, Deontay Wilder didn't just win the WBC heavyweight title. Guys, I think he won the Heyman heavyweight title. And right now, unless you're with Al Heyman, for the time being, you may not be getting a shot at Deontay Wilder anytime soon.
Well, and who does Wilder fight next? I know there's going to be mention of Tyson Fury and Holt, but the one juice card, the one card power play that DK has, and he always will have, is the WBC. And the argument, and I don't know if it's a good argument, because I think that Wilder defeated Bermane fair and clear for the WBC heavyweight championship, but Mauricio was in DK's room leading up to the fight. Mauricio is kind of like DK's Carl King, if you will. I mean, as close as he was with his dad. And what did Wilder essentially do to become the #1 mandatory? And what now happens to Bermane, he doesn't just go out of the top 10, losing and going the distance to a guy who legitimately people could say wasn't the #1 mandatory to begin with. So there is going to be a fight as it relates to who Wilder fights next, and Heyman may have to make a clear-cut decision. I don't need the belt if I got a champion.
Well, that's another issue. Heyman may be creating his own league of boxing, but the #1 contender in the WBC is Alexander Povetkin, who comes in with a lot of Russian money. Dave, yes or no, do you think Deontay Wilder, who got decked by Harold Scaniers, has legs skinnier than a pixie stick, you can't teach a chin? In your opinion, does he have staying power?
Absolutely, if he's matched right. Who out there do you think can beat him right now? Vladimir Klitschko, but that fight's never going to happen, right? And they'll never allow that to happen.
May not be likely.
Bryant Jennings, Tyson Fury. You talk about a guy with a weak chin that's been knocked down a bunch of times, keep his hands down. Anthony Joshua. Who do you think could take Deontay Wilder right now outside of Klitschko?
You know, I still think he's a tough matchup. Tall, rangy, athletic. Ken, Tyson Fury, Deontay Wilder, if they fought 3 months from now, who's your money on?
My money's on Deontay Wilder because although I don't think there's a huge upside to his boxing ability, the connection value that he has with this new hip-hop generation of boxing fans. I mean, it's not Muhammad Ali, and I don't want anybody to think that I'm putting Deontay Wilder in the category of Muhammad Ali, but for this generation, the level of excitement that was at that fight on Saturday at the MGM Grand was better than the last 4 or 5 Mayweather fights combined.
So there you have it. That's 10 count on behalf of the great Ken Miller and the institution on radio, the legend himself, Dave Smith. This is Steve Kim saying till the next round, goodbye, everybody.